What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first episode of the Timber Uncut podcast. We never recorded an official intro to the podcast because we still didn't know what the name was going to be, so I'm doing that now. I also want to apologize for the very horrible visuals that you were about to witness. About half of the video, my face is cut off because I'm a horrible cinematographer. So, we're sorry, but the quality will improve. Don't worry. With that being said, we hope you enjoyed the first episode. Now let's get into that shit. Whoa! I got it first try.
Nuh-uh.
I got it first try.
What was it?
Swill. I got it first try.
Is that even a word?
I don't know, but I just typed it in.
Nuh-uh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, just on some bullshit?
Yeah, well, it says 100%. I don't know.
That's the only time that's ever happened, bro. In the history of mankind. That's
So am I like a god?
I don't know.
Am I like a god
the
or
New York
something?
Times is gonna be like,
Yo, New York
"We need
Times, hit
you."
us up, sponsor the podcast.
Yeah, we need
Swill.
you.
What the hell does swill mean?
I don't even know.
Google that word of the day.
What does swill mean?
Swill? Oh man,
I got that John first try.
that's awful.
Bro, that was the luckiest guess that anyone has ever in their life. Like, that's like being like, I'm thinking of a word, what is it? And you just guess it, and it's the most obscure word. I'm thinking of a word, what is it?
Impossible. Impossible.
Fed up. I had enough of this shit. You will get swept up. I put a 9 to his head. He getting X'd up.
Hey. Little bitch, I don't fuck with rats. I'm Master Shredder. Hey.
Shout out my boy NASCAR Ala. Let's get him on.
Yeah, bro.
And we live.
Oh, dude, that is cool.
Yeah, so
I
I
didn't
can
know you
monitor
could do
that.
that.
now.
He's got himself right there.
I can monitor myself.
That's funny.
Because I can't see what's going
That's
on, so in
awesome.
case it turns off, I can just turn it back on. And that one we're monitoring because you have the flip screen.
Hey everyone. So this is gonna be our first podcast episode. We are currently in Timber Sound Studios. This is my recording studio where we do various recording activities such as this one. And we record music, podcasts, any medium really. I even had a voiceover last night with one of Pete and Rob's friend Cody, and that was a fun time. So it's cool to get to do lots of different stuff. So as an intro for this podcast, we're just gonna go around and I guess introduce ourselves and what we do, and what got you into it. So I just want to start. I guess we'll start with Rob. Since,
wow, man.
One artist.
Yeah.
One producer. One ginger.
Yeah. Oh, they can't even see that. They can't even see that.
Oh, there it is, bro. Whip it out. Yeah. Oh, not like that though. Yeah.
Sorry, whoa,
just the hair. Just the
Sorry.
hair.
All right. Welcome, man. This is about to be the biggest podcast in the world. Number one podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever else podcasts are. That's where you can find us on all podcasting platforms and mediums, or if you're on YouTube and you're watching the visuals, thank you for being here, man. So I don't know what we're talking about. We're starting off. My name's Rob.
Like that's the thing. We'll
Alright,
act. We'll act like
we'll act like we're oblivious.
but we know we're recording a podcast.
Oh, we're recording a podcast? No way,
Yo,
man.
what?
I just set lights up for no reason.
Yeah, dude.
How did I get here?
Bro, this is set up like really well for a podcast.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm quite enjoing it.
Yeah, we have.
Oh no, I mean like this setup would work great for a podcast.
That's what I'm saying, man. We're running.
Oh, that shit flew right over my head.
I got 2 softbox lights on us. We're running as like key lights. I got the background lights. We don't got no hair lights
The
on right
most
now.
expensive podcast in
We
South
do got
Jersey.
headlamps on.
Probably is.
Just don't say where we're at.
We're,
right,
we're currently located in Newark right now.
Alright.
But yeah,
so we're just gonna get started.
Yeah.
I guess
we're gonna get started with this, man.
all right. So we're just gonna go like,
Yeah.
what you do, what got you into it.
Thanks, man. So yeah, I do video photography. That's pretty all that stuff. I've shot weddings. I've shot music videos. I've done stuff for clubs. I've been all over the place, man. It's crazy.
All over the country too, dude. You've been in like
yeah.
states doing this.
I went to Jacksonville and I went to LA for it. So it's crazy how it happened in like it's been less than a year.
Nah, you
Since,
went
like,
to more than Jacksonville and LA. You went to New York.
Well, I went to
different-
New York, but that's just like that wasn't for like anything too special. It was just because I wanted to go. Like we went to New York, like we went to Virginia. We just went to Virginia to go to Virginia. Just
Still though,
just
bro,
crazy.
that's sick.
Just to
But
like have spots to film at though, like that are generally close.
But the cool thing about it is that when I went to New York, it was this abandoned place, and now I think I might use that location for a music video
that's
that I
sick.
have coming up.
So when you find spots,
So
then you remember.
yeah,
them.
because it's a really cool place. But yeah, that's pretty much basically what I do. Photography, videography, all that good stuff. Trying to build a company. You know
what
how
was
it
it
is.
that like got you like interested though? Like, did you have someone who like got you like started, or are you just all self-taught? All you know?
Well, I'd say the first thing that got me like into video itself was probably like it probably goes back to like when I was like 5, bro. Because I can. Let me move this cord out of my way. I remember like I'm gonna have to get closer to the mic for this one, just because we get the clear audio. But I remember being like real young, and I remember being over like my cousin's house, and we'd always like little old cameras, you know, like the old like just whatever, and like we would just record random shit, and then eventually one of my buddies back in like probably grade school or something, we would record shit, and we wanted to put it on YouTube. We never did anything with it, but we'd always record shit for it. So like I guess that was probably my first like introduction into that shit, and then I kind of just got more into it because I was when I was younger, I always wanted to be an author, and I always wanted to write a book or something. So I really liked writing,
like
right?
screenplay kind of situation.
Yeah, like just writing shit. I liked story, and that's what it kind of all goes back to, is like telling a story. I really like trying to tell a story.
So like when an artist comes to you like for a music video, that's like one of the things you're thinking of.
Yeah, it's the story. Like what the one I'm doing now with the Madison.
Yeah.
Is like I told her like I really want to be able to convey whatever emotion in the song that you're saying in this song onto the screen, and translate it onto the screen so that people can feel that emotion and feel that kind of like same thing with like a movie. I really love movies that can have a good story, just because you can
this couch
convey it.
stinks.
I'm gonna have to switch cushions, bro. I'm single.
No.
He's getting closer.
I might just have to like sit here. So, but no, 100%, because I remember like when Madison, by the way, is Madison Aruda. She came from Edison. She's artist. She came
Crazy
here.
talent.
We did a giveaway for our first for our grand opening, and we did a music video. We're doing a single song, and she won the giveaway, and so that's who we're talking about.
Yes.
But she very talented artist, very
She's
what
great.
would you say?
I
Determined.
all that stuff will come out later.
very-
So you
yeah,
can watch
she's
that
very-
later. We'll have
yeah.
links
Yeah.
in the description, because this will probably come out before any of that comes out.
I'd say that's got to be. I mean, I don't do any cinematography, but I would say that's got to be the hardest part in making a music video. Making really, I guess, a whole production of a song is telling a story and hitting the right emotions for the story without it just becoming
Just random
like,
whatever.
befuddled. Yeah,
Because a lot of guys, they'll like. I really like trying to tell a story with it. I really like trying to take it above and like actually have it mean something for like the artist and then for other people watching it, because it, just listening to the song, you could just listen to it and get emotions and stuff in your head. But actually, like having that paired with the visual, it kind of adds a little bit more of layers to it, right? So like a lot of guys, they just want like basic, just show up, shoot me and a bunch of my buddies just doing whatever, and it has just no context, and it's just like the same like repetitive thing done over and over again that everyone wants, and it's just like I don't like doing that, because it's like I can make a quick buck off of it, but it's like I don't
doesn't
get
really
any,
showcase what you're trying to do.
like, I don't get any enjoyment from it, because it's just like, all right, I'm just gonna show up, shoot a bunch of random crap for you, and then give you a random music video that's just means absolutely nothing.
So if somebody someone tunes into this video and they want to hire you to shoot a music video, what kind of artist should be looking for you? Who would be the person that you would want to take them on as somebody you think you could really make something special with,
I don't know. Anyone creative, anyone talented, man. Like anyone.
Yeah, but you have
like,
a certain way about it.
If you genuinely have a story that you want to tell, or like you have something that you got a message behind your music, then I say that works better.
I feel like in today's day and age, it's like we almost have too many people who are just making music just to make music, and not for any other reason except because they want to get big.
Pretty much, it's the same thing with social media. Like everyone goes on TikTok, everyone's trying to do Instagram, everyone's trying to do whatever,
Reels
just because
and all this, because
they just want to blow up, and they just
out.
It's like it's not about trying to get famous, and that's what too many people want, is just
Yeah, listen, if you're in your teens, right, and you're watching this, know that it happens once in a blue moon. But if you're putting all your chips into going viral, as opposed to just working on your craft, having fun with it, learning from it, you're really not going to make it far.
And that's like, and that's such like a, because I don't know, we wouldn't have met if we weren't like, so if we cared, you know what I mean? Because like we didn't know each other until last year, and we literally came together because of, you know, we wanted to work on an album, and we, you know, we're still in the process of that, but
Yep,
it's like
on the way.
yeah.
You're talking about you two.
Well, you too. Like you came in maybe just, I mean, yeah, a little later, but like still, it feels like you guys, you know, you guys are friends. So
Well,
it was
we've
like
known
it
each
worked
other
out.
longer than I've known you.
Exactly. So like when you guys came, it was like pause.
Mm.
But, like,
When you guys came, it was awkward.
Yeah, I
No.
walked out of the vocal booth and you guys were
Yeah.
just sitting on the couch and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but like that's what I didn't expect though, is that people who actually like, I was attracting people who actually cared about their music
Right.
and cared about their craft, and that was something that like surprises me like even now, because it's like,
Yeah.
you know, there are still people who, you know, they don't know what it is they're trying to do.
Right.
I mean, even to an extent, I don't know what I'm trying to do, especially when it comes to like my personal music, but like I will always see it from a, you know, producer, you know, mix engineer, you know, lens, and people, you know, they'll be like, "Oh, you're young, you know, you can't, you know, can't put too much, you know, of that on yourself." But the thing is, you know, in my head, it's like I have these standards, and I just want to keep breaking, you
Yeah,
know, the wall.
I think that's kind of how it is for anyone. Like, at any time
Yeah.
I do something, like for a long time, I just don't. I want to put out more content just because I want to put out more content. But a lot of times I hold myself back because I don't put it out because I'll have an idea for like an edit or something, and I haven't done one in a while. Where like I used to like, I would hear a song and I would just have like ideas in my head for visuals and how I could go along with it, and I would go out and shoot something, come back and edit it, and I would get like halfway through like trying to edit it, and then I would just be like, I would just get super just like bummed out and depressed over it, and
Because you're making content for the sake of content itself,
Yeah.
and that's not.
no, I was
yeah.
making I was making it because I wanted to make it, but it was like I was like I thought too much of like, damn, this isn't good enough. I gotta step it up, or like I didn't like how it was turning out, and I kind of got caught up in like not making it for myself, but trying to make it to please other people, and I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
That I think really is the biggest pitfall. If
Yes.
you're in the entertainment industry, or music, you know, specifically is really
Any-
all I can speak
yeah.
on. You have to make it for yourself. Like, you really do. I know it sounds cliche. You probably heard it from other people and you think that it's bullshit,
but it's true.
it's
true.
You will hit a point where doing it for other people burns you out. Even if that's why you're doing it now, you're going to hit a point where, I mean, and yeah, for anything in life, like you
Yeah.
said, dude, you're going to burn out trying to do it for someone else because
And doing it because, and like how you said, how we were saying, like how we have standards in our own heads. It's like, you know, if you're doing it because you just want it to be great and you want it to be good, sometimes that also can hold you back, because, you know, sometimes we actually don't know what's good.
Right.
And actually a lot of the times we don't, because we're not the audience. We're the creator of it.
Right.
So they determine whether it's good or not. We don't have that say.
Yeah.
I mean, we do whether we like it, you know, whether we, you know, genuinely enjoy it. Like, you know, if I make a beat or, you know, an instrumental and I'm like, oh, this is fire and this is that, and then like say, you know, I'm working with an artist and they're not feeling it.
Right.
Like that's like, okay, well then it's not good because they're not enjoying it and it's going to be their work. So like when you make a video and, you know, you're thinking, oh, it's not good, well, whoever's watching that is ultimately going to be the one who
Right.
determines that.
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's hard, but sometimes you got to like not let that hold you back.
Because you kind of forget the whole purpose of what got you into that thing in the first place was like you really enjoy it because of what like I really enjoy it just because it's kind of hard to explain, but like when I go out and take pictures, like I'll just be like, yo, like this is crazy, this is a banger, and like if you're not into that, you'll be like, it's just a picture, man.
Yeah.
But I'll be like, bro, you don't understand.
Yeah, you don't
But,
understand
like,
the
but it's like-
composition.
But you don't like, you know what I'm saying? But it's like, you know, like I get really into that shit, like how I got everything set up a specific way right now, like all the lighting and shit, and it's like I just enjoy doing that.
Yeah, it's your
And
craft.
yeah,
bro.
and you just kind of forget that sometimes. It's like you
Do
do it
you-
because you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Do you so like when I do like, you know, my productions or mixes, there's a common thing that a lot of, you know, engineers do is they'll have maybe they're like, oh, this sounds like a song that I've heard before, and they'll use that as a reference. Now, when it comes to like videography and doing music videos, do you use music videos as references? Like, do you, like, when you're shooting something for someone and you're like, oh, this actually kind of reminds me of a music video, will you go and like, when, I guess you're creating it, kind of look and see what they do and how maybe try to pick apart how they did it?
Well, I did that for a long time, like, when I first started, like, getting into, like, the music video things, I kind of just played any music video that was out there, and, like, certain ones I'd like things that they would do, and certain things I wouldn't like, and that's kind of, like,
that's how you find your own.
I would play a music video, and I'd kind of bring it back and go frame by frame and see how they were editing it, like, different compositions and what was actually going on, and breaking it down to figure out, okay, that's how they did that. I could do that with what the gear I have and figure out things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say budget's a big factor, too. I mean, when you're watching, you really got to account for what is feasible in terms of budget for something.
Because, like, a lot of those big music videos, they got their massive production crews. Like, I do it all myself right now, and they got, like, you got, like, 50
guys.
plus members. On some of them, like, even 12 guys, that's a lot for, like, for a production, because you got people, you have a whole makeup crew, you could have a whole camera crew, you got, like, your first AC, second AC, you got the DP, you got your directors, the producers, you got a whole damn crew, and I'm like a one-man show right now, doing the whole thing. So it's like, it's a lot, and I want to expand.
And I think that's kind of where, especially, music industry wise, it's like, that seems to be where it's going, because it's like, people aren't just producers anymore. People aren't just mix engineers anymore. It's like specialization is like out of the question now. It's like everybody can do everything. There's no middleman now.
Right.
If you can't do it all, they don't want to hire you.
Right.
And it's like, which is fine, but it's like, that's what's now making everything a lot more, I think, creative.
It makes it more accessible too, kind of.
Yeah.
Because if you're an artist, you could just hire me and I literally do everything. Whereas if you wanted a bigger production and you had a bigger budget, you could hire, say you wanted to hire me as just the cinematographer, that's all I would handle. And then you could have a separate guy that was the editor. You have a separate guy that's the colors. You'd have a separate guy that's actually directing it, and directing me as the cinematographer. And you have all these different people doing different roles. And that's how a lot of the bigger budget ones are. You have a whole team that works together instead of me just doing the camera, having to worry about the editing, doing the coloring, and yada, 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 etc.
I think the biggest difference nowadays, though, like, and I think it would be the same thing as far as your production goes, Nick, is it's not so much that having those extra people doesn't improve the quality, but it's just, back in the day, if you didn't have a full man crew and budget for high-end equipment, you were not shooting anything near high-end video.
Yeah, but you could get like you could get a camera right now. Before if you were gonna get a decent camera, you'd have to spend like 10, 20 grand on like a film camera to be able to shoot some stuff. But now, like the way cameras are now,
they're so good.
And relatively, it's like they're expensive, but they're not as expensive if I was gonna go buy a red camera for like 30 grand right now, and that'd just be the body of the camera, and I have to still get the lenses and
still
all that
the whole
shit.
Kit around
but how do you feel now too that people will get cameras like that and then make everything look real low budget because that's the aesthetic for a thing?
Oh, that's funny.
So it's like, it's really funny how that's become like, popular too, with a lot of different, especially if that's like, if you have a sound as an artist, I'm sure Pete would understand, like if you're doing a song and it sounds like it's from, the early 90s, you're thinking of that kind of, grunge aesthetic. At least I know with Pete's sound, it would be like that almost, Nirvana look.
Yeah.
And
or like the thing I get is like Little Peep look. Like you really like the Little Peep music videos, the VHS style old.
Yeah, and a lot of that stuff too, they recorded on their phones and whatnot. So it's like, now if you're trying to do that for someone, on expensive camera equipment, it's almost like maybe not the same.
Right.
I don't know what you think about that.
Literally, you could do it like, you don't have, like Cole Bennett. Yeah, you know who Cole Bennett is, right? He for those of you who don't know, he's a music video guy, Lyrical Lemonade. Look him up if you don't know who it is. But he does.
If you don't know who Cole Bennett is, you're watching this. You messed up somewhere, my friend.
He does a lot of a lot of crazy videos. But he's done a lot recently where he just, like, the iPhone 13 Pro Max, the camera on this is like incredible for a fucking phone.
Oh,
and
dude.
he shot like a music video for I think with Lil Uzi on just this, and it looks crazy.
That should really show you, though, that when you really push yourself, like you guys were talking about leveling up, like this is a guy, and I'm sure there's other guys in his caliber of cinematographer who've been doing it for decades or whatever, and at the highest level, he could make a GoPro look like it was a fully like you were describing, a full team shot the entire thing.
Like it doesn't go like you don't need the most expensive camera to do it. You could do it on your phone.
Yeah,
is basically what
that's
the moral of the story is.
But then, don't you think they spend a lot more time in editing?
Maybe not. Well, maybe because those videos he did with the iPhone, he has a lot of editing. Because Cole always does a lot of like via whatever the word is, effects. He does a lot of effects and stuff like that. That's how his style kind of is. It's always a lot of trippy like transitions, crazy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like the early like Juice WRLD videos where like I know one like he's got his head popped out of like the ground or like like the Lucid Dreams video. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but like stuff like that. That's like that's his style though. That's what he's known for.
Yeah, and it's cool. It works. But I think that's not the product of better gear, better technology, better anything. That's just the product of years of training and leveling up, doing it for himself.
And that's how he started. He started like how I started, like just shooting random run and gun crap for just any artist that he could. And, built his way up to what he is now. And it, it just doesn't happen overnight. It took him like 5-6 years to do that.
And like how I was saying earlier with how, everybody does everything now. So it's like, what would be the advantage then of like I already know it's like you want to shoot a music video and you're already producing the beat, you're rapping, singing, whatever, and then you're like, oh, now I'm gonna do the video. You're like, I'm also gonna do that myself. But there's a disadvantage to that because now you're spending all this time having to learn all these different crafts.
Yeah.
Which I mean is cool. It's I'm sure it's mad time consuming and like real fulfilling to say that you do everything yourself. But
plane?
Is there an airplane? It's flying into the studio.
Yeah, bro.
We found us.
But like, I don't know. Like for someone who wants to do it all themselves, like I feel like that almost takes the creativity out of it. At least for me, I've always wanted to go to have videographers shoot music videos. And I don't know how Pete feels about it, but like as an artist, like I almost think it makes it more creative when I have someone who's a videographer doing it.
Yeah, because you have you get different people together that are all creative and you bounce ideas off of each other instead of it just being like, okay, I shoot like you come to me for a music video and I'm just like, all right, here's my idea and we shoot that. It's like we go back and forth with ideas and I might have something cool, you might have something cool, and we combine that together and we make something together. Whereas you're just
it's a team sport for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Now, what do you do when somebody comes up to you and they're like, they have no idea for a music video, and then like does that leave you more freedom or does that feel like more restricting to
That's
you?
a good question.
Yeah,
it leaves more freedom because I can kind of do whatever I want, but at the same time, it's like I also have to. The artist has to be okay with whatever it is.
They have to be like, that's cool or not. But then it's like, well, it's like you know what you want, or you don't know what you want, but you know what you don't want.
Right. But that's kind of part of my job is like coming up with the video. So like, if you don't have an idea, you could still come to me and be like, yo, I like your style, I like how you shoot things, whatever. I want you to do this music video for me, but I have no direction with it. Then that's where I help out. I'll help you have the direction with it.
And also, at some point, I want to note this here. In editing, Rob's got to bring up some of his stuff on the screen real quick, right here.
Oh, yeah. I'll throw some clips up. Sure, I'll throw some clips up.
Some
Look
clips.
at this here. Bam! Oh, that's crispy, man. Oh, my God. We could do... Oh, look at that.
You see that right above Nick's head?
Oh, my
God.
Oh, look at that clip right there. That's crispy. Oh, and now it's all gone.
All right. So let's segue. I think maybe we should segue away a little bit from the cinematography side, and let's talk about some of the stuff you guys were touching on. Like, so when you're conceptualizing a music video, it would really start with the beat. At least any song I've ever made, that's where we've started with. So that would be your territory. So from what Rob's talking about here, what parallels do you draw with that?
It's so funny because like when I make an instrumental or a beat, I was literally explaining this the other day to an artist I was working with. He's like a new artist. He fresh into making music and everything, and he's like, man, how do you like get started? I'm like, dude, it's different every time. Like, especially depending on who I'm working with, what kind of thing they're going at, like in terms of what's in their head. And I always try my best to, take what it is that they're thinking of. They'll show me song references. And, I'll never go and just straight up copy, whatever it is they show me. 'Cause it's like, at that point it's like, well, then you're just trying to copy, which is cool. I mean, I'm all down for that. But whenever I go into the creative process, I take, the mood of the room, the mood of what we're talking about, and just start from there. Like, whether it's a sound, like say they have something recorded on their phone or, anything like that, that's where I start, really. And it just kind of start putting things in, the workstation, like, and just feeling it out. At least that's how I do it. I mean, you take a mood and that's kind of it. There's no real, like, methodical process, and I think a lot of people who do production also would feel that way.
Yeah. I think that's pretty common. I can't remember a time that we came in here and like made a skeleton diagram of how things were gonna go. Usually it was more like what do you think of this sample? Okay, I fuck with that sample. Like, okay, what do you think of, like, okay, but then you lay down the drum track. You're like, that's got a nice bounce, and then eventually you get some lyrics down. So
I feel like too, like, at least for me, I'm so much more rhythmical. Like, I have much more rhythmical ability than I do melodical. I hear rhythm before I hear melody most of the time.
Okay.
But the thing is, when I hear a melody or I hear, a chord progression, like, I'm then able to lay a rhythm down, like, real easy.
Yeah.
So, like, it can go both ways. But
so usually you hear the rhythm and it's like, okay, like, now I'll find the melody that goes with that.
Yeah.
But if you find the melody first, the rhythm is like instantaneous.
It's
like
easy. So easy. So that's why I think a lot of people too will, that's why loops are so popular now, is because they're like, oh, it's like I hear it immediately. And I mean, that's cool. But I try to not just like take a loop and just, take it. Like,
yeah.
And I think a lot of people understand that because they don't, I mean, even now it's even worse. Like, you can just get a MIDI, chord pack that they advertise, I'm sure you've seen those, and it's like C major, like the literal C major in MIDI form.
You just drag and drop the different chords in the progression. There you go. You got it. You got it rolling.
And I'm like, even if you're going to do that, well, at least, make the chords different, make the, add your seventh or, make it, change the chords, like, see what works out, I hate
make it your own.
Yeah, I hate to take stuff and just use it like that,
right.
but then there are also times where it's like, oh, like when we were working on, I'm trying to think. We were working on Madison's song, and she was showing me this thing from another song, and it was like a free beat on YouTube or whatever,
right.
And there was this section where it just had like this arpeggio going. It's like, it was almost like a synthesizer that had an arpeggiator on it. And that just makes it, you're basically playing each note of the chord in an up and down fashion. So it'll be like, and I was like, that's a cool sound. I'm like, it was in a totally different key, but I was like, yo, let me take that arpeggio real quick, take it from the beat. I kind of cut all the low and the high out of it, and it was just, the mids.
Mm-hmm.
And then I changed the key of it. And that's how you gotta be. Like, if you're gonna take something and make it your own, you know what I mean? Like,
right,
it's like,
right.
There's no copyright. It's free on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's like people are afraid to, go and make something their own. Like, obviously, you don't want to go on Spotify and take, something Kanye did and you get sued mad quick. But like, when it's, public, it's for public use, and you're just like, and nobody would ever know what it was from. Like,
right.
Nobody would ever know that you did that because it's not licensed. There's no, algorithm. They can't prove it.
Right.
And then also you're throwing, you could argue so many things that we should probably do an episode on like copyright law and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
It would be so interesting.
Right.
We would have to do some research on it.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, once you change so much about
it becomes
section,
fair use.
It is.
Yeah.
And because you can argue like, man, this is mine. Like, you
Right.
And
that's a big problem on like YouTube. That's been a big problem on YouTube for a while, like fair use and shit like that for people. Like, people will just get copyrighted for no reason. It's like, hey, I did a lot to whatever the thing was.
Have either of you guys run into that issue, having anything copyrighted or anything?
I pretty much have anything I post on YouTube copyrighted, just because. I should probably get closer to the mic, but I pretty much have anything on YouTube copyrighted, just because when I put out a video, I like to use songs that are like actual songs. So like if I have an edit, I'll do an edit. Like the Florida video I posted was like the Florida vlog or whatever. I did an edit
It was
to
a Cardi B song.
to
Right?
to the Up by Cardi B. Instantly that gets flagged on Instagram. Instantly it gets flagged on YouTube, and it's copyrighted. The video doesn't get taken down, but it's like if I make money from it, then
which is fair.
them.
You know, like that makes total sense. But when you're sampling and you're doing like people, you know, you can get you can sample stuff from like old vinyls and stuff, and you can still get, you know, copyrighted because it's like, you know, they recognize that sample,
right?
And you have to get, you know, permission for that sample, and I mean that's still, you know, totally possible. It's hard to get, but you know, I think a lot of people just quit at that though. So it's like when you hear something and you're like, oh, how can I make this, you know, cool? Like you have to go the extra mile to, you know.
Yeah.
Want to make it yours.
This just popped into my head. Say you had an artist who wanted a music video, had those concepts down. You had you had an idea of the key, you had an idea of what sampled, like the vibe of the track. Maybe they don't have an exact idea, but you know, a roundabout idea. Do you start producing then? If they say like this is going to be a music video, do you start producing with the fact it's going to be a music video in mind, or do you produce it completely irrelevant? No. You're saying
I actually, the only time I'll think about that is when I mix it.
Okay.
Because like,
leave like an intro time.
Yeah, because like say, like I hear something that could be cool for the video that could maybe, you know, help Rob, especially if, you know, the artist is teaming up with me and Rob.
Yeah.
Then it's easy because I can communicate to him, yo, this thing I did, like I think would be cool for the music video.
Right.
And like, and that's what I think too is super cool about like when artists, you know, come to record here is that, you know, you can get Rob included in a package if, you know, that's in your budget and, you know, in your, you know, vision of, you know, creativity and what you're trying to do, because it keeps me and Rob like on our toes, like communicating with each other, and it just gives you a better product. Because like 9 times out of 10, like you're working with a producer or an engineer or whatever, and they're just doing it for an hourly and that's it.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to make a project. We're trying to make something that, you know, everything is cohesive together. It, like,
right. It all works together. It all flows together, and it's like it's an actual like work of art.
But by that same token, you're also not producing the song at all with it in mind that it's going to be a music video.
No. Yeah, because once you do that, then you're thinking too much, and it takes away from like the moment. It's like I feel like nine times out of 10, it's always just in the moment.
No, it's interesting because I almost feel like, as much as that seems like, you know, counterintuitive, I almost feel like that makes it more of like a team sport, like we were talking about, because then it's not just your creative direction, because you could produce it to where it would really only fit one type of music video. Yeah. But then it's you made it in the vibe, you made it, you know, just maybe not right off rip, but like you weren't, like you said, you're not thinking too much about it. You're just working on, you know, getting a solid track, and then whoever's doing the cinematography, they get to kind of exercise their own creative decision over that.
Yeah.
Because like, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying because I don't want to take that creativity away from someone else. You know?
Yeah.
That would be you know, if I'm doing everything, then it's like, well, then why do I got Rob here other than to point a camera and edit?
Right.
That's not cool.
Yeah, because like you kind of have to wait. Like you can't, like, say with Madison, for example, when she was here and you guys were doing the song, I was trying to think of ideas throughout of like what I could do for a music video, but it's kind of hard because the song's not done yet. So you kind of have to wait till the song's done anyway. Because that's what I like to do is like I'll go back and I'll just throw headphones on, I'll have it on my speakers or whatever, and I'll just have the song on loop for like hours, just sitting there waiting for like something to pop into my head, and I might hear something and be like, oh, like I'll have something visually pop into my head, and I'll write it down, just write everything down and kind of build some kind of story out of it. So
yeah, because I mean, I know I asked Rob about like what do you do when an artist comes, but like as an artist, what's going through an artist's head when they're like, oh, we got to do a music video for this. I mean, it's not always that, I guess, you have to do a music video, but, like, when you know you want to do one for, you know, a specific song.
I don't know if I'm particularly creatively gifted like that at all. So for me, my first thought is, shit, I'm handing this off to someone who knows what they're doing. But to be honest, I think deciding on a song to put a music video to, it either has to be for some type of event. Like, in my head, I'm just saying right off the top, right? Like, I'm either dropping a music video for a Halloween type thing, or like when we went to LA and we did the whole song for LA, I thought like for something like that. Or if like they had been talking about, there's some type of emotional story going on where, you know, we're going through stages, and the video can represent that, you know, some sort of pathway through the song.
Fuck was it?
I don't know.
Pathway.
It's the pathway, bro. I'm getting jiggy in here. So
Getting jiggy with it.
I'd say the first thing that goes through my head is probably, are you talking about before I've even recorded it, or when I have a song
after
done?
the song's done. Like, you're like, oh, I know I want to do a music video with this, but like...
I think the song really has to pull on some type of heart chord for me when I made it. Like, it can't just be if it's too simple of a song, I don't really think I would want a music video. So for me, when I start thinking about music videos and how I'm going to do a music video and, you know, any type of creative direction for that, it's usually when the song has either some significance to what I'm doing in that moment, or it has to be like a really emotional type song for me, or else I have no inspiration at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. And that kind of all leads to, like, you know, how I think too many people are just creating just to create. And I mean, like, that's like a way to do it, but it just makes it more difficult then, because when you are trying to think of a music video, then you're just kind of like, oh, well, I just did this just to do it. And now that kind of is all on, you know, Rob or whoever the videographer is then to figure that out for you.
The one rule I'd say that I try to follow when I make music, and it might be a little counterintuitive, I guess, is you really can't think too much about it. If you're spending more time thinking about how you're going to make the music than actually just making the music, it's probably not going to come out the way that you're hoping it will. I think what I was saying is, I think the one rule I try to follow whenever I make some music is it's got to have a vibe, and it can't be a vibe you have to think about too much. Like, I'm either feeling it or I'm not in the moment. And I think as far as music video goes with that, there's really no forethought before I'm making a song about what's going to be a music video. It's really, if it turns out, like in my head, like a song I want to make a music video for, then it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it's more of a feel thing, I would say, for me.
And I think that's where a lot of artists, I feel like, maybe should start leaning towards. And, you know, if they really want to do a music video, they should definitely know what they have in mind before they go in.
Yeah.
Like, because I personally have made that mistake. Like, you know, when I was doing a music video, it was last year I was doing a music video for a song that, it felt like it had a lot of meaning to me, but I didn't know how to portray that visually.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why, you know, being able to sit down and discuss with Rob is going to be so cool, you know, for people, because it's like they kind of see like, all right, well, you know, if you don't know, he's not going to be able to help you either. So it's like, you know, it really just comes down to, you need to think about it. You need to, you know, I don't know what you got to do, but you got to think about what the song means to you. And I know, you know, some artists, they pick apart what their song means after it's done. You know, some artists know what it means right when they're doing it. So it all just really depends. And I think just having the foresight before going into, you know, a music video is so important.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know how much foresight I necessarily, like I was saying, I put into it. I think for me it's more when the song is done, when whatever vibe I had in the time that I was making the song, when it's done, then I kind of have that's when I start looking at it through the lens of like, okay, is this going to be a single? Is this sound more like a song that would go on an album? Does this sound like a song that needs a music video? And I guess the general takeaway that I'm getting at here is, like Nick said, be selective with what you're going to do music videos for, but in the moment, be very open to anything. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining that right. We might have to cut that.
And honestly, foresight was kind of the wrong word. It was more just like have the, you know yourself. Like, that's really what, if you know yourself and you know, maybe a lot of people don't, but, you know, like being able to know yourself and how it feels to you is so much more important, because then you know like what it's going to be for. Like, you see people, you know, who, you know, I don't know, they have these like hit singles, and they'll go and do a music video for the singles like after, you know, they're released, and it almost looks like it was like they had no problem. You know, they knew what they wanted going into it. It's like you can almost feel that vibe come off, you know, of the video and everything. You're like, oh, they knew what they wanted to do.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is like what I tell people is if you know what mood you want the video to be, if you know what mood you want to give off, then the rest is kind of like it becomes easier once you know what mood you want to come across. If you want it more somber, if you like, you know, and you know what kind of like message you want to deliver with it, it becomes more easier. And that's like the biggest thing that I think you need to like kind of know and have in mind for that.
Yeah.
So it makes the process like 20 times easier.
I'd say that's the same with writing a song as well. Like artistically, there has to be, when I say vibe, that's more or less what I mean. There has to be a mood for it. Like,
Right.
You can't just, at least for me, maybe some people can, there has to be some type of persona or, you know, story or motif that I'm putting into the song. You know what I mean? Like if it's, even if it's the most ignorant shit, like, oh yeah, I just did a Molly and you know, whatever.
So like if we think about it, like not, you don't even really gotta think about it, but like we haven't done that much, you know, as where we are now. Like you think of people who are like in their, you know, 40s, 30s, 40s, they've done, you know, albums, they've put out, you know, records, they've done tons of music videos. For them, it's like they know what they're doing. You know, for us, I think we're still really early, and we are, you know, and I think that's why we're discussing, you know, and having us all together is because it's like we want to be able to, you know, do more and be able to get everybody's perspective.
Right.
Because that's what's going to, I think, help, you know.
And to further that point, if you do watch this, let us know what you think too, for sure. Blow those comments up.
Yeah, exactly. Drop a comment.
If you're a musician, for sure, like let us know, like what is your creative process? Because to be honest, I think the whole point of this is seeing how everybody's is different.
Yeah, exactly.
Rob likes doing it a certain way. I like doing my thing a certain way. Nick has his own process. Like you were talking about how you were talking about how early on you used reference tracks, but now it's more so kind of based on a mood that you're trying to fill for the video.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, when I first started, it was all about the mood. But now, I feel like I've listened to so much music that when I hear a beat, it immediately reminds me of an artist. Like I'll hear, like you'll hear me all the time. Nick will play a beat that he's making, and I'm like, oh, I could hear Drake on that, or
I'll do the same thing sometimes. Like sometimes when you play a beat, I'll be like, oh, that kind of sounds like a Little Skies type thing, or like, oh, I could Black Bear or something like that. I could hear something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like sometimes like the one song you did, immediately as soon as you played it, I was like, yo, that's some Ghost Main type shit.
Oh yeah, the real heavy screaming stuff. Oh yeah.
And that's why I like too. Like we just do so much different stuff, and I think, you know, and I think it's cool to do a ton of different stuff. But then we also got to narrow down on like, all right, what do we really want to sound like? Yeah. And that's like what I think a lot of people also struggle with. And I mean, there's no limits to what you want to sound like. But when you're doing like a project and you want it to be cohesive and you want to have this storyline and you want to have all these videos that fit the vibe and stuff, like I think that's when it becomes, you know, more important.
Right.
Like an NFT collection.
Yeah, and you can find our NFT collection down in the description below.
Oh yeah.
On OpenSea.
Yeah.
No, but really, like when I'm recording a song, like that'll be the first thing I think about is like when I write like my opening line or like whatever part of the song comes first, I'm trying to get into like somebody else's headspace, like not copy their sound, but like if the beat reminds me of Little Skies, I'll think like, okay, how would a song by Little Skies that I really fuck with open up? What would he sound like? And then when I try to do it, I'm not Little Skies, so I won't sound like him.
Yeah.
But it'll come across my own version, but the inspiration will be from having heard so much music like that. Like whatever the vibe is, if I'm making a track like that. So I just think it's funny that we're all kind of finding out that we have totally different methods of recording. I live for reference tracks. Like that's where I base all my ideas around. Whereas you guys are a lot more spontaneous.
Yeah.
I like the spontaneous thing because I always do that. Like on any shoot that I've ever done, I'll always go in with a plan on what we're going to do for the video or whatever it is that I'm shooting. And then in the moment, I'll just think of something and be like I'll just think of something crazy or something cool, and I'll run it by the artist, and I'll be like, "Yo, we want to do this real quick? I just thought of this idea." And 9 times out of 10, they'll be like,
"The ideas come."
Yeah, they'll be like, "All right, yeah, fine."
They fly out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and I think too. I think the reason why I think at least you and me thrive on the spontaneous, you know, side of things is because I think with what we're doing, there's so much that can go wrong. So it's like we have to be prepared. It's like you almost can't go in with a full game plan because then if some rock is thrown at your plans, well now like you're screwed. So it's like you need to be able to adapt to a situation.
Yeah.
And you know, like
and keep the vibe still, you know, there. Because
Yeah.
you don't want, at least for me, it's like I don't want an artist to feel uncomfortable because of, you know, some problem that's going on my end, like, oh, you know, the headphones are cutting out or something like that, and you got to be able to, you know, pinpoint and troubleshoot a problem quick. And, you know, I think that's why we might thrive on that, is because, you know, we know, like, having a full game plan isn't always gonna, you know, it's not always gonna, 9 times out of 10 it's not gonna pan out. So, but that's just my take on that.
No, I agree 100%. I think recording's a little like that, but you have a lot more leeway in the sense that things going wrong are more like you just didn't get the take right, or you've decided you don't like the take and you redo it. But
yeah,
it's not quite as technical in terms of like what can actually go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could be like a whole camera, it doesn't work,
Yeah.
or something, or you have no like you're out of batteries, like you're
Something happens. You
I don't
gotta
know.
be prepared for it, or you just gotta improvise, overcome.
So maybe we could do something like this. So if you had to give, we'll start with Rob since he started us off.
Oh, cool.
If you had to give, like, somebody's coming up in your shoes, they're getting equipment, they're trying to learn, you know, from your point A to point B where you're at now, where you started to where you're at. What would you say in 15 words or less would be your advice to somebody who's trying to do that right now? Like, to somebody who's looking to get into cinematography, very similar path, you know, similar experience level, like a lot of self-taught with some online stuff, you know? What would you say takes them from studying in their bedroom to this, you know, being able to shoot stuff like this, shoot music videos? What's the biggest step?
I'd say the most two most important things I think are A, networking, and then B, really learning and honing your craft. Like, because I see a lot of guys, they'll get like an expensive camera and expensive gear just because they know it's expensive, and they think that it's just gonna. They think it's automatically they're just gonna, something crazy is just gonna happen from that. But you got to know why you have that gear. You got to know what to use it for. Like, you use certain things for certain, like you use certain gear for certain types of situations, and you got to know when to use it and what to use it for. And you can't just like too many guys will get the same camera that I have, and they'll get like the DJI gimbal, and they'll just get it because they know that the Sony A7 III is a good camera and a lot of people have it, and they'll get the gimbal because they know a lot of people use the gimbal, but they'll have absolutely no idea how to use the gimbal, and they'll kind of like I've seen so many guys, like when I was out like I'll be at like these events or like clubs or whatever, and like someone also have like a similar setup to mine, and they won't have it properly balanced, so they don't know how to balance it, and they don't know this and that, and I'm trying to teach them as I'm there, and it's like, you gotta know how to.
So hone your craft is what you're saying. Like don't be. If anything, it's better to be over prepared in terms of what you've learned and spent time on.
And start off on basic stuff too. Like if you're starting this out for like the first time and you have no experience with any of this, you don't go into spending a whole shit ton of money and getting something expensive because you're not gonna know how to use it.
If you had to get one expensive thing, say like you know, you had to take, because it's all expensive. Like even with audio, it's all expensive. When I mean, it at the very basic level, it's not. But when you're like, okay, I want to get more than just basic.
He's dying in here.
If you want to get more than just like basic, like for me, like I totally understand that belief, but I also think there's always one piece of expensive gear that gets you then further, because you're like, because for me, it was like getting my first Apollo interface. Yeah. And I was like, it almost forced me to step up my game. Yeah. It's like, oh, you spent all this money. Well, you better know
do
how
something with
how to use it. So
right.
For videography, what would that one piece of gear be?
I think either camera or your lenses, because both play a huge part. Like, when I first got that camera, I got a pretty decent lens for it, but...
What camera do you have?
It's a Sony A7 III.
Okay.
So, I got that, and then it was an 18 to 125 millimeter lens, and it was only like maybe $500 for the lens. So it's expensive, but not that expensive for...
Still entry level for lenses.
For lenses, yeah, because the lens I have on there right now, the lens that we're shooting this right now is... it's almost like a $2,000 lens. I think it was like 1,800. I don't remember exactly how much it is.
A walking lick.
But it's for those of you wondering, it's the Sony 85 millimeter G Master 1.4. It's a crazy lens. I love that lens, but it really allowed me to step things up because it just increases your quality like instantly from what it's able to do versus those basic lenses. So I'd say your lenses are you gotta invest in your lenses. Like you gotta invest in anything, but like.
But if you had to pick between the camera and the lenses,
I like you could.
that's tough.
Yeah, that's the top key.
You have to pick one. Like
I'd say
one
invest.
is-
You could have a pretty basic camera, but invest in your lenses because the better your lenses are, the better the shoot's going to be.
Yeah.
And having a variety of lenses too, which
So
is
you heard it
something I
here?
need to get.
professional cinematographer. If you're looking to get
I
into
wouldn't even call
cinematography.
myself a professional cinematographer at this point. Like I haven't even been doing this that long,
Video.
so I feel like I don't have any.
Yeah.
I have any. Like, the thing is, like, I hate talking about that because I feel like I don't have credibility, or like I shouldn't, tell people what to do. Because at the same point, I feel like I don't even know what
That's
I'm doing
why.
sometimes.
That's why I mentioned earlier. I'm like, we're still so young, and we
Right.
have not so much out yet. So it's like, and I think that's like the whole reason why we want to do this is
Yeah.
because we want to see each other's perspectives and how this can help us help other people,
Mhm.
and help us create a better video or a better song or a better quality for other people, because it's hard when you
Yeah.
don't have people who want to give you that shot.
No, because a lot of people they don't want to tell you how to do things, or they don't want to share their experiences with you because they want to they want to keep it all to themselves, or like they don't want to help you. They don't. That's in this, at least in this state, and what I've found with people is no one wants. Everyone talks about wanting to see you grow and helping you out, but in reality, I feel like nobody actually does. They all care about
I
themselves.
think that can carry over to so many places though.
Yeah.
Like it's just everybody is pretty miserable.
Pretty
and
much.
everybody is wanting to be creative because it like not just wanting to be creative, but people are wanting to put out content because they think that the result of people seeing that content is going to make them feel better and make them feel validated. And it's
Yeah.
like I just think like at first when I got into this, I was doing it for that reason. I mean, I did it. What got me into it was because I thought it was cool. I
Yeah.
really, I love music, and I was like, oh, imagine if I could make it myself. Like make music myself. And for me, it was like it became kind of a release because like
Mhm.
I don't know if you do this when like you're editing, or maybe I'm sure you do it when you're editing, but you get so like laser focused and you forget
Yeah.
the whole world exists.
Pretty
and
much.
You're just like so in, and that's been something I think now like I've come to understand is like
Mhm.
that's what I chase now. It's like I
Yeah.
chase just the being so involved in what I'm doing
Yeah.
that like nothing else matters, and that's what makes me the most happy.
Right.
So at least in the moment, and I think people don't want to be creative for that reason. They want to be creative because they want to be validated. And They
Yeah.
want to, be told something is great and
Yeah.
something is, awesome. And like I said before, the audience determines that, and a lot of people understand that.
Mhm.
A lot of people don't, but I think more understand that. And that's why they just want to keep pushing content, keep pushing it just for the sake of it. And
Right.
I don't know, man.
It's a crazy thing to think about.
It's like how the three of us, we come together and we just want to help each other out, and I know that we all mean that because we
Yeah.
wouldn't be here right now doing
Right.
this if we didn't truly
Right.
believe that. And I think that that's something that needs to be brought back into the creative scene, or the music scene, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like I think more people just need to be more genuine in their approach, to being creative. Because if you're being creative just for the sake of it, it's not worth anything, and it's definitely not worth anything to you. So it's like now you have this thing that you made, you spent all this time in, but it
Mhm.
means nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean,
All right. Well, then, in your words, what would you say? Because you asked Rob what the most important part of, gear-wise, what would be the number one thing. So then, if you're working with an artist, then what would be the number one thing that artist should bring? Concisely, what would be?
their mind. Yeah, easily. Like the artist has to have the creative mind, and not just like, and I that's the thing, we use creative, we use that word already so much.
Yeah.
And it's like not even just creative, but just like they need to have the, and not even mindset's a bad word too, because being an artist, and if you want to be different, you almost have to like hate everything else.
Yeah.
And you have to like almost just want to be your own, and without trying so hard. And it's such a, I think being an artist is the hardest thing, because especially for myself. And I've made songs that I was like, oh man, and that's why like I don't have them out anymore, is because I was like, I was just creating just to create. I wasn't being true to myself, being true as an artist. And I think what an artist needs to know the most is know themselves and know, you know, how their brain works and how their mind works. And it's such a wild, task to undergo. But I think an artist's mind is going to bring them further than any equipment, any recording gear.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're dead on that. Having the right mindset is the difference between actually getting some work done and making a good song, and kind of just faltering around with ideas. And it's a very hard place to find yourself. I understand that, but would you say that's the biggest thing? For an artist, say you have an artist who he's never been to a real studio, he's been doing everything himself, or maybe has a buddy who does it and he helps him out, but beyond that has absolutely no experience ever doing any form of professional recording. What would be, maybe to make the question more specific, what should they come to that studio? What would be the biggest thing? There's a lot of things as an artist I can say for sure that go through your head when you go to a studio for the first time. You're thinking about the people who are going to be listening to you, and even though that you're paying them to
keep going. I was going to adjust my camera.
Yeah. Even though you got people coming to you and paying you to do this work, you're still thinking about, like, what are they going to think of me? Are they going to think it's bad? Are they going to want to work on it? These are all things that I would assume run through most artists' head. So I honestly don't really even know, if I had to answer my own question, what I would give advice to artists, because it's hard for me too, being as I am one. So I'm asking you, like, keep it concise so people can take something away from
I think
this.
I know what you're trying to say. And the thing is, like, I think this would go for all of us anyway. So, like, we all spend so much time, whether it's recording, editing, and we spend so much of our lives, it's like we almost, not pigeonhole, but like almost pigeonhole ourselves, because we spend so much time, practicing our craft that we forget to actually have a life balance. Like, and that's where I think a balance comes in, because if you're an artist and you're like, oh, I'm going to, make this and make that, and you're just making content, and it keeps going back to that, man, where people are just making content all the time for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But, like, because if you're just doing that, well, then you're not living your life. There has to be some, what are you going to talk about? What story are you going to talk about in your song if you have been locked in your room all the time,
and doing nothing?
You've just been writing. And I mean, you can do that, and if you're going to do that, then the best thing to write and talk about would be about your mind and like what you're going through mentally. But when you're actually going out, living life, just experiencing what's out there. I mean, some people don't like society, some people, introverted, extroverted. Extroverts are typically going to have more experiences to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the introverts are typically going to go more towards what's going on in their heads and what's going on, internally, because, introvert, internal. It's like it all, at least that's a pattern that I see. And, people have weird balances, like, between, like, I know at least, like, we're all kind of weirdly both, like, weirdly introverted and extroverted at the same time. So it's like being an artist, picking and choosing from each, and taking life experiences and stuff like that, I think is probably one of the biggest things of being an artist, is like actually not being an artist.
Yeah.
It's like you almost have to just remember, like, hey, we're just humans, and we just have to live in this society that we were born into.
Yeah.
And just go about, what it is we do.
So more or less what I'm hearing from this, if we're condensing this for someone to take a little tidbit away, is go out, live your life. This is, I'm paraphrasing you. Go out, live your life, gain some meaningful experiences, and when you come to the studio, don't be afraid to take the emotions and everything you've experienced in life, because that's going to be the biggest thing that, and at least from what I'm hearing from you, is it sounds like artists who, even if you're not living the most exciting life, people who are introspective about their own lives and can draw conclusions and make I guess come to the studio with, Honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly.
And that's the thing, because like I don't want to tell people, oh, you have to go have these life experiences, but because you don't need that either. But what I'm saying is like you need to have something that actually resonates within you, because then otherwise you're still creating it just for the sake of creating it. And I know, like, take method acting for example. It's like people will literally go through something so that they can
understand it,
and I don't think that that's also helpful either, because then you're just telling you're forcing yourself to go do something so that you can feel a certain way. And I mean, like, whatever works for you, I can say do this, do that, but that's not going to help an artist, because there's so many how-to guides out there and all this kind of stuff that it doesn't help you, because it all eventually cancels itself out anyway. It's like one person will say, oh, you have to have life experiences, and then I could also say, well, on the same token, you really don't, because whatever is in your mind is what you can talk about. And like there's just so much, it's almost head chatter at that point, and you need to be in this almost zen place of mind within yourself of what you're going to express artistically.
Yeah.
So
I think that goes a lot back into like networking and just kind of getting out there and experiencing shit, because like you got to meet other creative people to like bounce ideas off of and learn from them, to learn, and they
especially
can learn
if
from
that's
you.
what works better for you, and if that's how, I mean, I know it can all depend. It's so weird for me, at least, like, it's like sometimes all I want is just myself to be involved, and then other times I want to have as many people involved as possible. I want to get everybody's creativity in, and then like so it's really just what works best for you, the vibe of the project, the goal of the project, and all that kind of stuff. So
it's pretty much what it comes down to, man. You just gotta, I don't know, kind of go with the flow sometimes and just see where life takes you, because sometimes it'll be up, sometimes it'll be down, and you just kind of gotta take opportunities when they come to you sometimes. Or
that too. I think a lot of people are afraid to just do things.
Yeah.
I actually get criticized for just doing too much and not really like thinking too hard before I go into something.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh, you need to have more of a plan doing something." And I'm like, "Well, that's just not how I roll, I guess."
Yeah.
So it's just like you can get criticized for anything.
Pretty much.
So it's like no matter how you're going to be, you just have to not worry about that and just keep going.
Because the world is so judgmental on literally anything, and people, I think, focus too much on that.
Yeah.
And like, if you can't take criticism, I think that's like a big part of like the industry, or like any industry you're in, is like criticism, because there's always going to be somebody criticizing you for something.
Yeah, but you can't criticize creativity.
No.
At least true creativity and true artistry, and that's like the kind of stuff that you can't even that you can't put a label on, because when people say that, it's like, well, who are you to say what's true art and what's not?
Right.
So there's it's like opposite and equal. It's like there's this side, that side, this side, that. It's all what it means to you.
People will try and bring you down, man. Like I had when I was in college, for the brief time that I was in college, my professor, he pulled me aside one day and he told me, you should really think about changing your career path.
Damn.
You should really think about he told me straight up. He pulled me aside after class one day, me and him sat down, and he was like, I don't think you're cut out for this industry. I don't think you're cut out for any of this. I don't think you're gonna make it in this. I don't think it's the right thing for you. I don't think you're gonna do anything with it.
Yeah.
And that was like, damn.
I think a lot of people have moments like that, and it pushes them further to want to keep doing it.
Heck yeah.
You think maybe he did see it in you, and he just wanted to tell
I don't
you that, so
know.
Reverse
Because he was kind of an asshole sometimes, that guy. Like,
Yeah.
he always had it out. I don't know. Like, he always had it out for me. He was always criticizing me hard on shit for some reason. I don't know why. But he pulled me aside one day and was like, I think you should change your major. I think you should to get out of this field. You're not gonna. It's not something for you. You're not gonna do anything with this. And I was like, all right, what the hell was that?
I don't know, bro. Someone breaking in.
That wind is strong out there.
Just flip the car.
Yeah, dude, it sounded like the whole like building like
Facts. Dude.
got hit by a car.
Yeah, we just go out to the cars and just smash.
Power gets knocked out.
My Jeep's in the road.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was an interesting moment in time. But
You ever had a moment like that?
What? Where
Like-
someone told me I wasn't good enough?
Yeah. At least like in that, because like I feel like if a professor does that to you, that's wild, because you're paying to be there.
Right.
You know, it's like you're paying and you're trying your best and you're just, you know.
I'll tell you what, bro. I like arguing too much. I'd be like, look at you, you fucking washout. You're teaching me community college music. Come on now, community college cinematography, bro. Like, don't even start on about you should get out of this industry. You're not even in this industry.
Yeah.
You're in the education industry.
Yeah, bro. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with teaching. I don't want to offend nobody, because I mean, literally, what we're doing here is
we're teaching.
Like, we're trying to.
I would argue that there is a problem with teaching, because people don't want to learn themselves, because when you're taught how to do something all the time, how are you going to be different than everybody else?
You're just getting taught the same repetitive
everybody's
thing.
being taught the same thing. Like, it's like a production line. It's like everybody's just being like, you know, it's like you're on a conveyor belt. You know, you're trying to get the most.
That's how schools
people.
are kind of built.
Yeah,
it's like you go to high school, you get out of high school, you go to college, get a degree, and go into this job that you fucking hate, and retire at like 65, 70 years old and not experience
or you don't, or you die before because you're so miserable and your health goes to shit. Yeah, and everybody. we could go crazy.
You can go into that.
Yeah.
All right, wait. Let's do this real quick. I have an idea, right? Now that we hashed all of it out.
Yeah.
In an actual 20 seconds or less, for this to be like a sound bite, or for you know, if somebody's watching
Instagram Reels,
like something where people can look at this one spot and get the gist of it here. Yeah. Let's do real quick. I'm gonna hold you to it. 15, 20 seconds at most. You have someone coming to you, right? I'm gonna do two questions here.
All right.
You have someone coming to you. They want to hire you. They have a song. You know, we're talking about the average musician. They have a track. It's done or close to done. They come to you, they tell you they have some rough ideas for it, nothing solid. What is your first step? What is going to be the single most important thing actually, let me take the first step question back. When an artist comes to you, what is going to be the most important thing you would say for this project to turn out right in your head? It doesn't have to be, you know, super specific, but just in essence, what would an artist need when they come to you? You know, for everybody watching, if they want to hire you, what should they have down, you know, ready to go for you, where this would be an optimal project?
I'd say having a clear goal in mind with what they want to do with the video and what they want to put out there for themselves. Like, that you got to have, like I said earlier, like the mood. You got to have a clear cut, like, this is what I want to do with this song. This is how I want it to impact people. And I want your help in trying to put out that message. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So it's about having a message, and then the technical, you know, exactly how it's being shot. You don't have to know all of that, but more exactly how do I want this production to impact people would be the biggest thing.
And
then
say. You go into that and how you're shooting it and all that. That all comes together, you know, as a final project. But the biggest thing is having, like, what message do I want to put out there for people so that they could come back and, like, get something from this piece of art that I put out, whether it's the song or whether it's the visuals themselves, that you want to impact somebody, how you want to do that.
Okay. Awesome. No, I think that's a really great way to say that. And then on top of that, you know, I asked you this a little bit ago. Somebody comes to you, they tell you they're just starting out in videography. They have pretty much no experience doing it for anybody but themselves, have not had any type of gigs. Yeah. They want to know, what are the early steps, you know, like if somebody's watching this and they're thinking about getting into cinematography, forget the gear. What should you be focusing on? What should be your, you know, in essence, you know, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, what should you be focusing all of your attention on in that time?
Focus on you. Focus your attention on you and doing it because you want to do it and because it's something that you're interested in. Like, this started out as a hobby for me. I never had any intention of doing music videos. I never had any intention of being in the music space, and that was never a thought in my mind ever. But going back to, like, when I was younger and I liked doing this stuff, the main thing I wanted to do was make movies. And that's where I started, wanted to make movies, wanted to go into Hollywood. That's what I liked doing. That's what I wanted to do. And I was like, I just didn't know how I wanted to go, like, how I would go about doing that. And now I ended up here, and it's like, you kind of just got to see how things pan out and how life kind of takes you. So I'd say if you're getting into it, get into it because you want to get into it. Get into it because it's something you want to learn, and it's something you want to experience. You want to, you know, learn how to do photography, learn how to do cinematography because you're genuinely interested in it, not because, I want to make a massive amount of money or I want recognition, I want fame. None of that. Just get into it because you genuinely want to get into it. And if you get into it further and you start getting good at it, then you can think about, maybe I want to start doing music videos, or I want to start shooting weddings, or I want to do real estate photography, or I want to do this and that.
You'll have found your, like, almost naturally, you'll have found where you want to end up.
Right, but go into it thinking, just do it for yourself.
Yeah.
Do it because you genuinely enjoy doing it, and it's something you take pride
Otherwise,
in.
this is going to be a lot harder.
Otherwise, you're going to go
Oh,
into
yeah.
it thinking, all right, I need to, by the end of this year, I need to have shot 10 weddings. I need to have my career go. No, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Like,
So somebody new or somebody just getting into it, you would say definitely do it for themselves.
Yes.
Absolutely,
100%.
I can absolutely resonate with that. Music, like making music, if you're new to that, it is something that if you're not willing to take your lumps, you're gonna have a really hard time making music. And if you're not gonna, like, your first song is not gonna go viral. And if it does, not all of them are going to. So taking your time and actually having a real kind of sense of self invested into it, being more than an attention grab or some way for you to promote yourself, almost like egotistically a little bit, I guess. Like that would be, I would say, probably for anything, that's the best way to get into it. So I totally agree with that point. And the only follow-up question I have, what skill would you say they should focus on? We'll keep it real short. Well, if you're brand new, you've decided you want to do it for yourself, what would be the most important skill? Because like you said, people focus on all the wrong things, having super expensive equipment, having this, having that. What would be the most important one or maybe two skills that in the beginning, if you hammer down, you're going to have a good foundation?
Well, it depends on specifically what you find your interest in the most. Like, if you're interested in the most in photography, then I would say learn.
Say it's you. Take
for me?
yourself in this example.
Okay. Well, for me, I was always into cinematography and film.
Okay.
The thing is I was always into film, and I wanted to do everything, whether it was camera, whether it was acting, whether it was directing. I was always into all of it. So I wanted to focus all of my attention onto all of those things.
So in making good film, what would you say is one skill that would be vital, like above all else?
Storytelling, like
Okay.
actually being able to tell a good stories, like writing. If you're trying to tell a story, that's like important, because you might have the best visuals in the game, you might have the best audio equipment, you might have all that, but if you can't tell a story and you don't know how to write a story, then it's just going to turn out like shit, because it might look good when the viewer's watching it, but you're going to watch it and you're going to be like, none of this makes fucking sense.
Yeah.
What the hell is going on? So I think
Well, that's the goal.
but having a good story, I think, that's important.
And that ties perfectly into your first point about how when you have a song and they're bringing it to you, you should have a message,
Because it really helps, because if you don't have a message, then it's kind of like, well, what do you want to put the video out in the first place for? Because a lot of people they think that, oh, I got a song, now I got to put out a music video because it's going to get more people engaged, a lot of blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if you're going to put out a video, I think you should put out a video because you want to put out some kind of message, behind that video, or have something that resonates with somebody somehow.
I agree. I 100% agree. So you would say, if you're an artist coming to you or going to any cinematographer, have a clear message that you want in your video.
And maybe you don't have to have that clear message right away, but you could have some kind of vague idea of something you want to deliver, and then we together kind of we build that message,
Gotcha.
Like, you might have a vague idea, and then I could throw some ideas around and be like, okay, well, to me this song is giving me these vibes and this vibe and this, and maybe we could try and do this and that to something along the lines of that.
Gotcha. Now, that makes perfect sense, dude. So for everybody watching, just to recap, I think that was perfect. No, really, I think that was perfect. I think that for somebody, like, if you're a new artist who's never shot a music video, which I think everybody who's done music has been in that position, hearing from a cinematographer, like, okay, what should I come to you with? And you can say, okay, yeah, you know what, even if you don't have a clear idea of everything, this is the general vibe of my song. I think if your cinematographer or your videographer is creative, that's a good enough starting point.
Yeah, come to me and be like, can you help me make this vision of mine a reality? And I will do that. That's what I'm hired for, essentially, is to turn your vision, to put whatever your vision is on the screen. That's same thing with, like, a producer. You have an idea for a song, you're making that idea happen for them. Same thing with me. I'm making that idea come to life. Yeah. Because it's something that you can't do yourself. You're just the artist. You don't have the skills and equipment that I have, and that's where I come in. I'm the second media, or the whatever you want, third media, whatever, third party, something like that.
You're I don't know, the second or third in the line of people to touch it.
I'm helping you create the ultimate end goal, or ultimate end, like, vision for whatever it is that you have. I'm helping you.
And that segues perfectly over, because now I'm going to ask Nick the same two questions. So let's say you have an artist coming in here for the first time, which I can't imagine who that would be.
It's a lot. I've had, yeah.
Like me. No. So you say you have an artist coming in here for the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you want, you know the sound that you're going for, first of all. So like, I don't know how much we touched on you talking about your sound and exactly the styles that you feel most confident in. But say you have an artist come to you who's in that realm, which we can get into, I guess, another video, talk about our styles and whatnot. What would be the number one thing that artist should have when he comes to you? Very concisely, like with Rob, like 15, 20 seconds. In a few words, what would be something someone should take away? They're an artist, they're going to a producer. What's going to make that a good experience overall when they go and visit?
Being genuine. That's it. That's the most important all the time. If you're not genuine about it, I don't want to work with you. And it's like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Like, because
right to the point.
It's like, I mean, if somebody, is just doing it to do it, like, just make something to make something, like, it's usually pretty obvious. And I may still work with them just because it's like, hey, you're asking me to help you. I'll help you if that's what you want. But I'm not going to go, like, that's the thing. I will only, and I've heard this, from people who have, mentored, and helped teach me things, is like, I will work as hard as you work. If you are going to, if you want to take, I will take it as far as you want to take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's, that shows your sincerity and how, genuine you are about it is how far you want to take it.
Yeah.
And that goes with anything, even outside of art. And yeah, I think just
being genuine would be the biggest
number one, because if it's not there, it doesn't matter. And I mean, because already in a grand scheme, like, we're all gonna die eventually. We're all gonna. It's not gonna matter. So like, at least if you were genuine about it and you enjoyed your time, and you felt that it, it made you feel complete, then that's all that matters.
And I think that raises a really good point too, because music is such an industry of image. Like, everybody's trying to be somebody else. Everybody wants to be that guy, and I think that a lot of people have the idea that when they come into a studio, they got to be in that persona now. Like, oh, I'm a music guy. Like, I do this. And you can kind of tell when guys are forcing that, when they feel like that. So I think that's a really interesting point, that in an industry where image is everything, almost nothing is what it seems.
Yeah, especially in rap.
Yeah.
Rap's the number one, where you're going to see the most ego. You're going to see the most, vanity. It's just like everybody is trying to be something they're not. They're trying to talk about, and rap about some things they've never done. And and they just want to do it because it's part of the image or part of the culture. And, maybe I don't understand the culture, but I don't want to feed a culture that is, just not real. Like, it's all made up. It's all
like, if that's like, so you're saying, like, if you're really doing what you're talking about, then it doesn't matter what it's about, because it's real, it's genuine. You could be talking about watering your plants, but if there is a genuine emotion and connection you're making with it, then that's more important than filling any type of image.
And I'm all for storytelling. I like the storytelling aspect. Like, if you are going to talk about something you haven't done, and you are telling a story about something, or you're playing a character, that's totally different. Then it's like, that's what you want to do. But if you, like how we were saying, it's about image, and people want to put this image out there of themselves, it's like, well, if you're not being yourself, then, and you're trying to put on this image of something that's not you, then that's different.
And that ruins the vibe for you too, dude. I mean, you're in here producing, you're trying to really get in the artist's head, figure out what they're looking for, and if they're just completely deceiving you into thinking they're someone they're not, chances are they're probably not going to be happy with the production either.
And chances are they're deceiving themselves. Because it's like, and I mean, maybe who they are in real life maybe isn't, like, outside of the studio is totally different than what they are artistically, and that could be a totally different conversation. Like, oh, maybe that artist just feels more free in the studio. And in that situation, it's surprising to me, because it's like, oh, maybe I see what this person does on social media, and social media is never really a good guide for how people are anyway. But like, when you see that, and then when you talk to them, and maybe you don't expect them to be this super nice person, but then they are, and then that's actually refreshing. So it's like, oh, but then why do you do that to yourself and have this image like that? And they're like, oh, for the culture, or for this and that. And it's like, well, I like who you are. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think other people will too, because it's genuine and sincere. And that's what I want to bring out.
So that would be
Yeah.
in your closing arguments at this this legal proceeding. Your final point to artists coming in would be genuine.
Be genuine. Be sincere. Yep.
I think that's great advice, and I can say as an artist that, for me, the only tracks I've ever really liked is when what I was talking about actually had some sort of substantial meaning to me. It didn't have to be the most profound,
No,
like, oh my God, this opened my eyes in every way. Like,
Yeah.
we're not
And
on
being
some like
profound-
philosophical type.
Yeah, and
beat.
being profound these days is like something people are like, oh,
Yeah.
you said something so educated or it sounds so wise, and they want to be praised for it. And it's like, that's also lame. Like, it's like,
Just be you.
Yeah.
Just whatever your actual life experience. If you're broke, you're broke. If you're rich, you're rich. If you're 6'4" and a fucking stud, you're 6'4" and a stud. You know what
you're
I
talking
mean?
about wanting to be rich. Well,
Yeah. You can talk about wanting to.
like, it's like, you want to be rich. Well, you better put in the work, and I
Yeah.
want to see that when you come in here. Like, you want to be rich, you want to be this and that, but like, you're not trying that hard, and that's why I say it's like, I will work as hard as you take it.
So genuine effort and
Yep.
substance. Genuine.
Because if you're sincere, you'll put in the work and the effort. And or if you're just going based on vibe, then we're gonna go base it on vibe, and like, it's just how far you want to take it. And I don't want anyone to have the big takeaway to be that you have to do this. But the thing is, I find that most artists find more, they feel more complete after when they have been sincere in what they're doing. And
I'd go a step further even, dude, and I would say that if you're not sincere, you will fail. Maybe not even musically will you fail. Maybe faking your image will get you all the money and fame and accolades you'd ever need. Maybe that's the case, but you'd have completely failed at being who you are.
Right.
You'd have completely failed at following your own intuition and your own, moral compass, and have more or less sold that out for what you think you wanted.
Right,
so I think at some point you're going to fail, whether it's, in your musical journey or your personal journey. If you're not true to yourself at all, you're gonna falter, and you're gonna find yourself in a bad spot.
Right, because too many people focus themselves on, like, I have to put out this image of, like, the luxury cars, having like 5 big ass chains that are worth 10 grand on me, and like I gotta have the rollie on, I gotta have this and that to, say that I'm successful. And too many people focus on that, and I don't know. It's just, why?
yeah,
You're not being yourself. You're trying to say that, oh, I'm like, you are Little Durk, or you are Soulja Boy, or whatever, whatever your artist name is. You're putting out this image that isn't you, and you're not as genuine.
it's almost more like, I feel like that holds you, like, it only constricts you,
because it holds you to that. Now that you've established that, you have to stand by that, and you have to stay like that, because that's what people know you as, and that's what people expect from you. So you have to stick by that.
And it's like, I almost want people to feel free, to feel like they have the freedom, like, of being themselves.
Dude, I gotta say this too, right? Like, who cares who listens to your music? Like, I know this sounds counterintuitive,
No,
but this,
I know. I try
who
explaining
really
that
fucking
too.
cares? Like when I think about people listening to my music, right? Like, some people might absolutely hate it. Like, they might literally, like, just absolutely despise it. I'm like, all right, whatever. Some people might absolutely love it. That's fucking cool. Like, let's go. But for me, it's like, I would live in a constant state of anxiety if all I thought about was how my music was going to be received.
Yeah.
I would live under, I would be so insecure with myself. I would never experiment. I would only stick to the things that people had already told me they fucked with. And I feel like, at least, I think I've become the most bland person when it comes to that,
That's what a lot of people do, I think, is like, one song blows up and they know, like, oh, if I keep doing this, people are going to continue to fuck with that, and it's gonna steal my vape again. It's gonna my career's gonna keep rising, so I got to keep doing this thing that I hate, and that could be with anything. Like, say if you're like a YouTuber or something, like the videos that get a lot of views, you'll keep doing that just because it's gonna get a lot of views, versus doing the kind of content that you really like doing. Or same thing with music, or same thing with literally anything. You're gonna do it just to please other people, because it's what other people want to see versus what you actually want to do. And
I think we're pretty much hammering that home. Like everybody more or less is agreeing that is the number one thing. Like that is, there is nothing more important than staying true to yourself and where you actually feel creatively.
Yeah.
And what's inspiring you at that time. Like, so then let me ask you this, right? This is the second question I asked Rob. Say you had somebody just starting out in your position. You know, they're making beats at home. They're experimenting. They're getting familiar with a DAW. What would you say the biggest first steps are going to be in going from an amateur who's just learning to somebody who's in a position to do this for other people? Something where you're, I would say try to stick to like one or two skills that you would say if you routinely work on those, they're going to give you the biggest yield.
I would say music theory. Music theory would be huge. I lack a lot of that. And it's something I think that's why I say that, because I wish I had more of that. And I am still working towards that. Like that's not out of my, personal like goals. Like I think everyone should honestly want to have some more music theory because it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And then also just practice. I think people don't spend enough time practicing. And not that that's, a problem, because I mean a lot of people can come and wing it, but like I think what's made me personally better is practice and having goals. That's it.
Practice and having goals.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying practice in the sense of you should make a ton of beats and, just constantly flood yourself with new creative concepts? Or do you think you should stick with one beat and continuously work on that until you feel as though you've conquered it and then move on? For somebody new, so,
Yeah. I mean, that depends. If you want to have the goal of like, because that's all actually going to depend on the goal that you have as an artist. Because if your goal is to like get signed by a label, well then you got to think about what does a label want. What do and personally, my goal was never to get signed by a label, so I don't know what that would be. People would have to research that.
Yeah.
That's not for me to answer. Nor do I want to answer it.
Yeah.
It's like if that's somebody's goal, well, I can, tell them research it. There's nothing better than learning about something than doing it on your own, and trial and error, and listening and talking to other people so you don't make the same mistakes that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of is like when your parents tell you, oh, you'll wish you didn't do this or that, and it's like, but when you're talking to other people and they actually are telling you like, hey man, like I've been in this for a long time, these are the things I wish I did or didn't do. I actually find that when you listen to them and you actually take, their heartfelt advice, that it actually does help.
Yeah.
So I would also recommend for people to, be able to take advice from people who are much more experienced and, take it, seriously, especially if they, you think they truly care about you and they care about your, well-being and they want the best for you. And, I've been, in situations where maybe I didn't pick up on that. I always think people are out to get me, or I think that people, don't want necessarily what's best for me. And it's hard for me to believe that people, truly care. But then when I have seen like you guys come in and, you guys want to help and, and the people who have taught me so much, it's almost like I've taken that for granted. So I think, something artists can, take away is, don't think, people are always out to get you. People do genuinely want you to be happy, and not even just happy, but be, the best version of, what it is you're trying to be.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that ties right back into production, same as artistry. Like, if you had a new producer, I think what I'm hearing is you would want to spend a lot of time practicing as opposed to just... I think there's a certain phase people get caught up in when they're learning something new, or at least I do, where I want to spend all my time researching it so I don't get anything wrong.
I didn't do that. I did a lot of just playing around, and I wish I didn't do that. So it's like we're on a different side of it. It's like you want to do all the research and make sure you don't do it, wrong. I'm sitting here moving knobs that I don't even know what they do.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking I know what they do based on, whatever. But then what I think is you need to have a good balance of that. And you need to have a good balance of, research, trial and error, and then also being able to hear from experienced, people.
And maybe that your trial and error should reflect your research. Putting those things into practice, I would assume you'd agree, would be very vital in actually learning things and building your skill, as opposed to stagnating, putting things into, actual practice and seeing, okay, yeah, that sounds cool, or no, that sounds horrible. I need to think of a new way to do it.
Yeah.
So for somebody new, trial and error, balance that out with research, constantly try to be learning new things and implementing them. And if they don't sound good, try again.
If you don't like it, try again. And do it until you like it.
Or,
Gotcha.
Whatever.
I think that's a great closing point.
Yeah, I think so too.
Be genuine, try, experiment. I think these are all
and
things.
have fun.
Yeah.
That's it. Because if you're not going to have fun, well, it's going to be a miserable time. So.
And you heard it here first.
You heard it here first, folks. I might not be on camera right now, but for you audio listeners, I'm still rocking with you.
Yeah, boy.
Rob's still in the cut.
Boy, you fuck, you shit out of luck. You should grab your Dutch and double up. Heard that you been poor, ain't even got a cup. Yeah, I heard that you been poor since coffee ain't been in the cut. Yeah, I heard that you important, but you still ain't getting love. Yeah, I heard that they checking the gram. Heard that you sick of your man. Permit is going as planned. I'll let her know when I land. Still she ain't getting